Whether they're naughty or nice contestants, Survivor production always have a tendency to prank their contestants, even outside of the spooky season. Some of them are funny, some of them are cruel, and some of them are downright insulting, and, well, some of them have a literal piece of paper. When it comes to Survivor advantages, we've seen idols, extra votes, stealer votes, and even idol nullifiers, but one of the strangest, most useless, so-called advantages in Survivor happened to Jamal Shipman in Island of the Idols. Imagine searching camp, finding a mysterious scroll, thinking you struck gold like the many other contestants on the very season before you, only to unwrap it and realize it's literally a blank piece of paper. Yep. In Survivor Island of the Idols, Jamal came across a hidden scroll at camp, and in Survivor history, finding a scroll usually means power. A hidden idol clue, an extra vote, something game-changing. Naturally, Jamal was excited, but when he opened it, it wasn't a clue, it wasn't an idol. Instead, he had to go to the Island of the Idols, so he did. He visited the island, he got to meet the legendary two-time winner of Survivor and Sandra, and production framed this as an advantage. They told Jamal he could use the parchment to write whatever he wanted and plant it as a fake advantage or fake idol note. That was it. Oh, and he got an IKEA pencil. That's nice. But it only gets worse. By unwrapping the scroll, Jamal lost his vote at the next tribal council. So not only was the parchment useless, it was actively harmful. He went from thinking he gained power to being handicapped in the very next vote. Honestly, this wasn't an advantage, it was a prank. Even Boston Rob couldn't fully seem to believe the lines he was fed by production. The test was to show that if something is too good to be true in Survivor, then you shouldn't believe it. But like every time a scroll has been found in the forest, it has led to an advantage. Why change the meta now? And sure, Survivor is about risk and reward, but losing a vote in exchange for a blank piece of paper, that's not strategy, that's trolling. To his credit, Jamal did what he could. He tried to spin the parchment into a fake advantage and plant seeds of paranoia, but at that point his credibility had already taken a hit. Instead of empowering him, the parchment hurt his standing in the tribe. To rub salt in the parchment-sized wound, this was the very tribal council Jamal was voted out. Had he actually obtained a hidden immunity idol, it would have ironically saved him until the swap. The blank parchment has gone down as one of the most infamous advantages in Survivor history, because it was never an advantage at all. It was production trolling a player for being proactive. Jamal lost his vote, lost momentum, and fans were left scratching their heads, wondering why this twist even existed. Similar to IOI in Survivor 42, production decided to have a little fun with the players' expectations. Enter the caught red-handed beware advantage. Poor Drea found herself dunking her hand into a massive bamboo cylinder of red paint. In the new era of Survivor, beware advantages usually come with some risk. Open one and you might lose your vote until a condition is met. So naturally, when Drea stumbled across a scroll at camp, she thought she was about to unlock something powerful, maybe an idol, maybe a game-changing twist. Instead, what she got was something straight out of Survivor comedy. The advantage told Drea she had to dunk her hand into a container of bright red paint. No stealth, no subtlety, just plunge it in, and then try to wash it off before anyone saw. The challenge wasn't simply finding an idol like other people, it was about pulling off a risky heist. The challenge was basically good luck hiding the fact that your hand looks like you just committed Survivor finger painting. Mind you, for Drea, she undertook this cast for the knowledge is power advantage, so the risk was worth the reward. Although, whilst extremely trolly, I really like this twist in regards to finding an advantage, as unlike simply getting caught looking for this, it adds a whole new dimension to the downsides of finding an advantage. 5 seasons later, the twist would return, and hooray, would you look at that, it's the woman in the thumbnail. Survivor 45 and beyond extended their beware advantages into a multi-series scavenger hunt with various different segments in order to obtain the idol. One of these segments involves Sue having to smash open a pot containing copious amounts of paint. Similar to Drea, you could just see the sudden realization production is threw a massive curveball at her, resulting in one of the best heist scenes of all time. As much as I love it, the fact it is so rare in Survivor makes it all the much better, as a fun prank on contestants, showing the tongue-in-cheek nature of sometimes being caught red-handed on the show. That's great and all, but have you heard of something better? It's called IDOLPLAYS. IDOLPLAYS is the sponsor of this video, with over a dozen puzzles that are Survivor inspired, so you can play Survivor from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to fly over to Fiji, you don't have to starve on an island, you can actually play the Survivor puzzles for yourself, and there's over a dozen on the store, including the fire puzzle, Will It Go Round, and many, many more. So make sure to check out IDOLPLAYS, the link is in the description, and also use Bandit Survivor 10 to be able to help me out. Survivor is a game of blindsides, idols, and strategy, but sometimes it isn't the players pulling the wool over each other's eyes. It's production. By the time Survivor Thailand rolled around, players already had a blueprint for the game. They expected the tribes to merge at a certain point, usually around 10 players left, so when Sukchai and Chuigon tribes got a word of a big feast together, they assumed the obvious: we're merged and it's time to celebrate. Everyone mingled and strategy shifted instantly. Alliances formed across tribal lines, and people started plotting as though the game had officially entered the merge phase. But here's the catch, it wasn't a merge at all. Production pulled a fast one. After the feast, Jeff literally mocked them for being naive enough to believe they were actually merged. He even pointed out he never mentioned the word merge, thus placing the blame on the contestants. The looks on their faces said it all. The players had revealed their cards, forged new relationships, and even started to betray their old tribes, only to find out they had been duped. All that information spilled way too early, and suddenly the game was a mess. Now, on one hand, it was hilarious. Production essentially pranked an entire cast, but on the other hand, it wasn't exactly fair. Players made decisions under the belief that the game had been merged, and it exposed strategies in a way they never would have known if they'd known the truth. People like Xian, who thought she'd flipped to a new alliance, ended up completely screwed because her new tribe still had the numbers, and she'd shown her hand too. The fake merge in Thailand was such a wild twist, but it has been used in similar future twists, such as the mergatory twist, where the contestants were living on one beach, but explicitly told they weren't merged. Then we have the whole hourglass debacle, but that's another video for another day. But in Thailand, it was the first, and it was the most devastating. The prank shifted the trajectory of the season, and left players and fans questioning how far production should go in terms of trolling contestants. Hidden immunity idols have saved countless Survivor players from going home, but in Survivor China, production decided to have a little bit of fun, and planted one of the most infamous pranks in Survivor history, a fake idol, and the victim, Jamie Dugan, who thought she had struck gold, only to be laughed at when she tried to play it. By season 15, Survivor had fully embraced their hidden immunity idols as a game mechanic. Players knew they were powerful, and knew they were usually hidden around camp. But in China, production decided to add a twist. Instead of hiding just one idol, they planted a decoy. It clearly wasn't marked as a fake. In fact, it looked like the real thing. A carved wooden plaque tied up just to look like the authentic idol. The difference? Well, it just didn't have a few lines of text on the back, thus confirming its powers as the actual plaque. So here comes Jamie Dugan on the Zanhu tribe. She was desperate for an advantage, and when she stumbled across the fake idol tied up at the base of the structure, she thought she'd hit the jackpot. Jamie clutched it tightly, believing she had the survivor's ultimate safety net. What she didn't know was that production had pranked her, big time. At Tribal Council, Jamie decided to make her big move. She pulled out the idol, ready to play it and save herself. Jeff probes with his classic smirk, asked her if she was sure she wanted to use it. Jamie proudly handed it over, only for Jeff to announce, This is not a hidden immunity idol. The tribe erupted in laughter, Jamie was ridiculed, blindsided, and promptly voted out. The fake idol prank had worked to perfection. This wasn't just bad luck, it was production trolling the castaways. The fake idol was planted to look legitimate, practically indistinguishable from the real one. Jamie wasn't careless, she was duped. Survivor turned the hidden immunity idol from a guaranteed safety net into a potential trap, and Jamie was the first contestant to fall right into it. Even James only succeeded in effortlessly ripping off the first tribe's hidden immunity idol plaque because he already had the knowledge of how the first one was obtained. The China fake idol set a precedent. From that moment on, contestants realized not every idol could be trusted. In fact, 25 seasons later in Winners at War, even at the top level, production, even unknowingly, was pranking contestants. Throughout the season, the contestants were given split idols that could be split apart. They had to trust someone to own their half, hand it back at the next day, and then rebuild their idol. Adam, however, assumed the fleur-de-lis on Jeff's podium could be used as a hidden in plain sight idol at Tribal Council. Unfortunately, he was incorrect. Jeff even plays along, making Adam think the literal podium could be played as an idol, only for it to lead to a sobering reality that no, he was being voted out. In Survivor history, there's one prize that's become legendary: the car. For years, winning a car on Survivor was seen as a reward, almost as iconic as the $1 million itself, but it came with the dreaded car curse. No Survivor player who has ever won a car went on to win the season. And in Survivor Guatemala, production pulled off one of the cruelest pranks on poor Cindy Hall, putting her in a no-win situation that all but sealed her fate. At the final 5, Cindy Hall won the reward challenge, and with it, a new, shiny Pontiac Torrent. For most Survivor players, that's a dream come true, but of course this is Survivor. Production wasn't about to let it be that simple. Jeff Probst announced an unprecedented twist. Cindy could either keep her car or give it up so that the other 4 players could get a car of their own. I mean, they even bring them out. Look at that! Look at that! In other words, Cindy had to choose between personal gain and goodwill with the jury and her competitors. No matter what, she was in trouble. Cindy chose to keep her car, and who can blame her? You can't go on Survivor expecting to win a free vehicle for other people. In fact, she apparently has this very car today, but the decision instantly painted a target on her back. Her tribe mates resented her for being selfish, even though giving up the car would have been equally risky, because let's be honest, would handing out 4 free cars really have bought her loyalty, or would it have just made her seem like a bigger threat? Either way, she was doomed. Sure enough, Cindy was voted out at that very tribal council. She left the game with a brand new car, but without the $1 million. The car curse had struck again, this time with a production twist that made her downfall seem inevitable. This was production at their most mischievous. They didn't hand out a car, they created a trap. No matter what Cindy chose, she would have faced backlash. It wasn't about strategy anymore, it was about putting a player in a lose-lose situation for the sake of drama. And the funniest part, Survivor leaned into the car curse legend, almost like they wanted to guarantee Cindy's elimination. The Cindy Hall moment remains one of the most infamous examples of Survivor production pranking its contestants. It reinforced the car curse, it gave us an unforgettable moral dilemma, and even showed how ruthless Survivor can be, not just between the players, but also the game itself. Nevertheless, subscribe to the channel to give me a special treat and a fattened Survivor sub count this year. Have a good day. Peace!